Welcome, everybody, to the Sports Hub Underground. Matt Dolloff here with Ty Anderson, as we are every single episode. You can, of course, get us at 985thesportshub.com and the Sports Hub app. You can get us wherever you get your podcasts. We are sometimes on YouTube. This is a maybe on YouTube. We're doing a maiden voyage test run type of deal here in Studio D at 985 The Sports Hub. If you're currently watching this on YouTube, folks, that means things went pretty well. If you're hearing audio only, that means it did not go so well. So,
yeah,
Ty, good to see you.
What's going on? How we doing?
Good. Yeah, I think we it's fair for us to wonder if this is going to go well, considering the stuff we have to work with. We've had things go on in the studio before. It's always a question of whether we're going to have the right stuff available, if everything's going to be set up. But everything was set up today, so I said, all right, let's give it a try. Let's give it a shot. Let's see how it goes. How do you feel?
I don't like it. That's
How
okay.
the vibes?
I don't.
Check.
Terrible vibes.
The lights are bright. The camera's right in our face. We're sitting right next to each other. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't like this time.
No, I don't like the setup at all. That's
like
okay
this
though.
time. I'm turning comments off. You guys are already being very mean to us.
Yeah.
I don't love our chances of this.
I just don't. It's a podcast. It's video. It's audio.
It's an
just
audio
listen
medium.
to it. Yeah.
I understand. Yeah. Well, no, people get to see our beautiful faces
Getting
now.
$0 extra for doing this on camera.
We're gonna get $1.
Maybe
we're
we'll
gonna
see.
Get money. I'm gonna click the monetization button, and then someone's gonna get that money.
Yeah, I just think there's like a limit to like what I like doing and what I want to do, and we are just constantly pushing it. We're constantly pushing what I like doing, what I want to do. Like, and I hate always being on camera. I hate like sometimes I want to just look like shit and feel like shit and not be on camera. So. It's okay. We'll get through this one.
Well, this is officially for mature audiences. I got to mark
Sorry.
that later. No, it's fine. No, it's funny. When you go through YouTube and you're setting it up for publishing, and you have to like set like a language setting. It's funny because they have like an explanation of what this means, and it's like the first language setting. Well, words like damn and shit and hell are acceptable, and then you get into the other ones, and it's like okay, we're not going to say that.
Okay, so I won't say that one.
But I think we're okay. I think we could drop some S-bombs and be okay. This isn't
I don't plan on doing it regularly. It came to mind right then and there.
The FCC is not going to come after us for this.
Okay,
thing.
so long as they don't, that's all that matters.
Yeah, we'll be fine. All right, what should we talk about today?
Wherever you want to go.
All right, cool. Yeah, look, I get what you mean about we're a podcast. What are we doing on YouTube? I think a lot of people get their podcasts on YouTube.
Yeah, no,
which
that's
I don't
fine.
Understand.
That's fine. Yeah, no, I don't care. Wherever you get them is wherever you get them.
There's certain podcasts where like they put videos on the screen, they react to other videos. I don't see us ever doing stuff like that.
No,
right?
no, probably not. No, I just feel out of my element right now. That's what it is.
So, look, I did videos with Barth when we were reacting to Patriots free agency, and we were sitting in those chairs over there. The camera angle was pretty much a wide angle, had my entire body on screen.
Yeah.
And let's just say I was wearing an ill-fitting shirt. And let's just say you can't exactly have perfect posture in that chair.
No.
And there were multiple commenters like, hey, he's fat.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that.
Yeah, that's understandable.
I did not enjoy that part of it.
Yeah.
I get it. I have to lose weight. All right. So we talked last podcast about the Bruins falling in the draft lottery. There's not much else to say about that. You know, the worst spot they could have fallen to. I didn't think it was a disaster to drop from 5 to 7 necessarily, but I thought you laid it out pretty well that, you know, maybe it gets to a point at specifically that 7th spot that they might have to reach for someone. Do you have any follow-up feelings about that? Have your feelings changed? Now you've had some time to think about it because that was pretty much the morning after.
Yeah, I mean, again, it all depends what happens between now and June 27th, I think is when it is, in terms of, you know, okay, who falls to you, you know, who doesn't, things of that nature. You know, like the board can break a lot of different ways between now and then. You see guys are fast risers. You see guys that will tumble down the board. You think of Shane Wright, consensus #1 overall pick for months and months and months and maybe even a year, and then he falls down the board. He falls all the way to the Kraken with their pick, and so you never know how it can go, you know, between now and draft night. So there's no sense in getting too high or low about it right now. It's just it you know, going off what we said last podcast, like Kind of depends how the board breaks and if a team makes a trade or if there's someone that they target or who interviews really well. Does that guy move up the board? So you're gonna wait and see there what happens, and you're gonna go from there and adjust appropriately. They're gonna get a player, like they're gonna get somebody who fits a need for them organizationally. It's just where are they? Where are they slotted? Where's your projection? What do they see for them for a timeline? All of that, but with a top 10 pick, like you really can't miss. I mean by that,
Zach Hamill.
No, I don't mean it like that. I mean like you can't mess this up. Like you've got to get a home run. Like if you mess this one up, like because you're reaching based on things that you value that maybe other teams don't, and you want to be the smartest team in the room. Like, okay, that's your choice, but that's gonna be a legacy defining draft pick, because for as much talk as there has been, and rightfully so, about 2015, it's 13, 14, 15. Like, different than 7th. Like 7th, you got to get somebody. You can't get Elias Anderson like the Rangers did all those years ago. Like, you got to get somebody who's going to be like a legit fit for your team and your franchise. And so that's ultimately the concern. Again, just going back to the last podcast, like that's the concern, is that you Bruins yourself into thinking that, okay, we got to prioritize this and that, and then the next 3 picks are impact NHL players, while yours is in year 3 in Providence trying to learn the 200-foot game for whatever reason.
Yeah, look, they can't mess it up, but it's far from a lock, even though it's a top 7 pick. Like, I was looking back at the 2018 draft because I was just curious, because Rasmus Dahlin went 1st overall. I was like, was there anyone else in that draft that was worthy of going 1 overall over him? Quinn Hughes was the 7th pick in that draft. 1 pick before him, to the Detroit Red Wings, Philip Zadina, who feels like a total bust at this point.
I don't think he's in the NHL anymore.
I mentioned him to you on one of our other a past episode as a potential option, like a Bruins taking a flyer on him. I don't think I've ever seen you more mortified in your life.
Yeah,
than the thought of the Bruins bringing in Philip Zadina. That's how much of a bust he is.
I mean, that's what they do, though. Like they kind of dumpster dive on high picks that have not worked out in their other cities. And,
I think that's why I suggested it.
Yeah. And so you get some hits, right? Like Pavel Zacha was a hit in that regard. I think he was 5th or 7th overall or 9th overall. I can't remember. By Jersey in 2015. But I mean, if a guy's a top 10 pick and the team is moving on from him, there's typically a reason for it, right? And so it all depends, the context, I guess, and what kind of gamble you're taking on a player. But yeah, I remember that. The Philip Zadina sweepstakes, as they were known, everyone wanted a piece of this guy, and I think he went to San Jose and did nothing. You're like, oh, wow, what a shock. Like the bad player is bad in the new city, too. Wow, what a real surprise there.
I don't want a piece of him. I want the whole thing.
Yeah, I remember that. And then he picks the Sharks, and everyone's like losing their minds. Like, oh, they really missed out. I'm like, not really. Sure enough, I think he's playing like the Czech Republic now. I don't even think he's in the NHL anymore. So,
Jesus Christ. Don't Philip Zadina yourself. Get the Quinn Hughes of this draft.
I mean, nice. Yeah, there's Hughes, there's Nazem Kadri was 7th overall, Mark Scheifele was 7th overall, Dylan Cousins was 7th overall. Jake Voracek, I think if you look back over the last 20 years, I want to say, the batting average on getting an impact player is pretty high. Getting a franchise player, different story, but getting an impact player at that position has been pretty good, particularly with forwards. There's quite a few forwards that have been drafted 7th overall that were really good pros. Jeff Skinner is another example of one. So you should be able to get somebody. It's just, how does the board break? Are you getting someone that you didn't think you'd be getting at 7th, or do you have to go into sort of your bag and say, okay, we like this guy, and this guy. Who is going to have the highest ceiling? And then you kind of go from there. So we'll see.
Can I put it this way? Can they get a top 4 forward? Can they get a guy that can, either play next to David Pastrnak or maybe play that second right wing spot behind Pastrnak, but play heavy minutes, play power play? Yeah, look. Ideally, you get the franchise player, but are we going to kill them if they only get a guy that scores 70 points and he's a top 4 forward for them and plays a good all around game? That's the kind of player that you were talking about, like that you hope they get. Yeah, with one of those center prospects.
I mean, if you can't get Claude Giroux, get Jean Couturier. Yeah. Like you get a great second line driver. Get a great second line winger, somebody who can put up some points like that. Like it can't be a third liner. You know what I mean? And that's been the best case scenario for a lot of their first round picks under the Sweeney regime. The only one who wasn't has been Jake DeBrusk. You know, and so even in his best days, he was probably a great second line. You know, Jake DeBrusk was always your fourth best player or your fifth best player. Nothing wrong with that, but you know, that's kind of, you want to aim a little bit higher. Can you be the second best forward, the third best forward? Like, I think to your point, like that's kind of where you want to be. Like you want to have a player who can project as sort of, okay, he's not a first liner, but he's the focal point of your second line. Like that's exactly what you'd want for sure.
That's what I'm saying. Second line driver or a center that can actually play with Pasternak, be your top line center. Like that's ideally, like that's the floor for what they pick. You know, ceiling, franchise player.
Yeah,
floor. I want to say top six forward, but I feel like a fifth or sixth forward is not quite good enough.
And it's all relative too. Like, okay, like Nazem Kadri, 7th overall pick, was really at his height when he was playing behind the first overall pick, be it Austin Matthews or be it Nathan McKinnon. Like that's kind of, McKinnon I don't believe was first overall. Was he? I can't remember.
McKinnon
I think he was
first overall.
Oh, he was, okay.
But he wasn't like, if I remember, McKinnon wasn't that like consensus, like surefire, like McDavid type of
No,
pick.
because he was in that was the draft that also had Barkov and Seth Jones and Jonathan Drouin.
That was
I
the
believe.
top four right there.
So those are the top four.
You don't want to pick Drouin. You don't want the Jonathan Drouin of this
draft. You want, exactly. But like Kadri's an example though. Like it's all, like when I'm saying it's all relative. Like Kadri was at his best when he was playing behind that number one. Well, the Bruins hope not going to have a number one overall pick anytime soon. So, does that bump up what you expect out of that player? Like that's something that is, we're going to have to wait and see what happens. But, like a lot of pressure on this pick, a lot of weight on the shoulders of Don Sweeney and Cam Neely, because I don't foresee these guys picking this high ever again. And by that I mean Sweeney and Neely being the ones to make that pick.
Yeah.
If the Bruins are picking higher than 7th overall next year, a different GM is making that pick. I firmly believe that. Yeah. So this is the chance to make or break the franchise, in my opinion.
A lot riding on that pick. I mean, there's a lot riding on this offseason. Like, I don't think they could just make that pick and coast through everything else and just like, unless they have their blessing, like we're going to tank for a year.
Which they won't. They won't get that.
Gavin McKenna, but it doesn't sound like they want to do that.
No, I think that the only way that would be acceptable, and even then, who knows really, would be if they win the lottery. If they pull they finish like they pulled the Islanders. They finished 10th worst odds or 10th best odds of winning number one overall pick, and then they move up 10. You're like, oh, okay, you got lucky.
Yeah.
But even then, I think you're blowing up the GM because you missed the playoffs. I think that's where like they're not gonna let a GM miss the playoffs 2 years in a row. They're just not. Especially they spent big money last offseason. They're gonna spend big money this offseason. So if you have back-to-back offseasons of spending to the cap, and then you miss the playoffs both those years, you're going to look at the GM and go, what are you building? Like, what are you doing?
And
so I don't see it happening.
Sweeney's going in as a lame duck, too, right?
Yeah, which he has done before. Like, he's done that before. Like, 2022, he was a lame duck. They let him fire Cassidy, and then they extended him, like, 2 weeks later, whatever it was. Like, so,
just do that again.
He has experience in this position before. And I would say that in 2022, he did a great job in 2022 bringing in Hampus Lindholm. Like, that was a great trade for the Bruins. It addressed a long-term need at left D that they had basically left vacant since Chara left. And so you address that. You can make that's a good trade. It doesn't play out the way you want it to, obviously, in that opening round. But I thought he GM'd the appropriate way despite his lack of a contract. You know what I mean? Like, he wasn't like, hey, I'm going to trade 4 first-round picks for a bunch of third liners because I got to make the playoffs. Like, no, there's a long-term vision there at play despite his own status as a pending free agent executive.
Right. The fact that he got the blessing to do what he did at the deadline is probably a good sign for his status. But like, if he goes and invests all this money and like, makes a big trade, like really reinforces the roster, and then they miss the playoffs again, then he's probably in trouble. I mean,
I think the whole operation would be.
Yeah. On Don Sweeney, to keeping it on him, I wrote about this at 985thesportshub.com. Go check that out. He talked about the Bruins coaching search, and one quality that he wants in the next head coach is for him to evolve offensively, is what he said multiple times. But the only way he elaborated on that was he needs to communicate better with younger players. Like, it sounds like he wants to be able to get more out of younger players. Feels like they've never had that guy. Like, at least in Sweeney's tenure, like Claude Julien didn't, I don't know how he communicated with young players, but he didn't trust young players. Bruce Cassidy, not the best communicator really with anybody, but certainly not with young players. Jim Montgomery, a couple guys popped in his first season, but I'm not sure that he really got out of the young players that what they were hoping for. Guys regressed and he regressed, and it feels like when they talk about evolving offensively and connecting with young players, they're talking about Montgomery, because there were other things. Like, it felt like they tried to blame the whole thing on Montgomery, the way that season fell apart.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like anyway. But this is what they're looking for in their next head coach. I just wonder, are they going to look at it any differently in terms of personnel? Are they going to get different kinds of players? It doesn't sound like it, because he talked about, look, I know how skilled and fast and talented all these young players, all these young forwards are coming into the league, but they also have to play within the confines.
Is there a microwave in here? What is that?
Yeah, I don't know. Someone's cooking fish over there. I was wondering what that smell was. No, it's a something over there. Hopefully that doesn't keep happening. I don't know if the folks can hear it through our microphones, but there's an annoying beep coming from one of the computers over there. We'll try to bust through those distractions. What was I saying?
You're talking about evolving offensively.
Don Sweeney was cooking fish.
Yeah.
He was talking about evolving offensively and what he wants out of the next coach, but he didn't really talk much about what he wants out of players, other than it sounds like he just wants the same thing. It doesn't sound like he really wants to evolve. He wants to have two-way players. He knows how skilled everybody is, but they got to play within the confines of the system. Mm-hmm. You want a speed skill guy that also plays well defensively at wing? I feel like you're really threading the needle there.
Yeah, I think so much of this comes back to what they're left with now draft-wise. They are left, the 2015 draft has been beaten to death, as we all know, but you had 6 picks in the top 2 rounds, and the only player you have to show for it right now is Fraser Minton, whom you acquired in the Carlo trade. So,
and he's a third or fourth line center, probably, right? A good one.
Yeah, but I would say third line more than fourth line. But you got to develop that guy. You got to bring that guy along. Fabian Lysell, 2021 first round pick, had a strong finish. I thought as a pro, that noise is going to drive me mental.
Oh my
Matt.
God, the beep.
So
what I'm calling this episode.
But that's a player that you got to get something out of, right? It's similar to, I think, why they made the decision to move on from Bruce Cassidy in 2022 was they looked at it and said, okay, DeBrusk is not progressing the way that we want him to, and he's unhappy. Frederick is not progressing the way we want him to, and he's kind of at a crossroads career-wise. Carlo is not doing well. And you looked at it and said, okay, we got these picks and how they play is reflected on me and my ability. So we got to get more out of them. And so you look at that where they are right now with their picks, Lysell, top pick, Minton, a top pick, and also acquired in a trade involving one of your only draft success stories. So you got to get something out of him. Marat Husadinov was a second round pick by the Wild. Now he's in your pipeline. You got to get something out of those guys. And then you look beyond that. You have Dan Lashmelis, who was a fourth round pick of your team. Looks like he might be something. But you got to have a coach that's going to let him go and let him develop. He had 12 points in 6 games in Providence to end his year. Really
wow.
good finish there. But the players you do have now, you got to get something out of them. That's kind of going to be the mindset, the mantra here. It's hey, we don't have a lot of picks that are currently in our pipeline, so the ones we do have, they got to be NHL players. They got to be NHL factors. They cannot be guys that we are playing 8 minutes a night and saying, no, they got to work on this. No, you got to let them go and deal with the imperfections and hope that you can build around that, right? And put them, insulate them in a proper space, whatever you want to call it, to be productive, contributing kind of players. The way they use Husadinov to end the year, I thought was great. He came over from Minnesota. You look at the numbers and you're like, oh, okay, I guess whatever. But then you kind of dove deeper into them and you're like, oh, he was playing in the D zone every shift. Why is he doing that? This is a creative, speedy, offensively minded kind of player. Why are you doing that to him? And they bring him here. He gets ozone run, and now you're like, oh, wow, he's got creativity, he's got speed, he's got things that you want to see out of your offense. And so you need more of that, right? You need more success stories like that to really kind of bolster your roster, because if they go out and spend money, young players on the cheap have to be contributors. Like if you have a winger making 11.5, and let's say you sign another one for making $9 million or $14 million, depending on who it is, like you're gonna have to put some younger players around them and get something out of them.
Do you feel like Sweeney's finally accepting that? Because it feels like they've been saying that for like 5 years, and then they just end up not playing these guys. They don't even bring them up in some cases.
Yeah, so I actually asked talking with him on Monday, I asked him about I said, is there anything you're noticing from the postseason through one round that is sticking out to you? That you're looking at it as an executive and saying, okay, we got to get more of that on our team next year. And he mentioned secondary scoring. He basically said, like, teams are able to erase leads and build leads or, whatever. Secondary scoring is a must this time of year, and that's been an issue for them. I think it's been an issue for them, across the board. You go back to 2023, if they got out of round one, we're sitting here, we're talking about how Taylor Hall was unbelievable on the third line. Like they don't get there, but that's been their Achilles heel again and again and again, has been the secondary scoring. But
that's, to me, is obvious. Yeah, they need secondary scoring. My question is, what does that look like? Who do they bring in?
It looks like younger players. It looks like younger players. It has to be younger players who are making cheap money and are being put in advantageous situations versus, you're going to get more. In my opinion, you're going to get more out of a third line that has speed and skill over muckers and veteran grinders who can run out of gas. That's just kind of how I feel.
Is Sweeney telling us that, he would have played all the young kids this whole time? Is it's been the coaches making those decisions? Is that what he's telling us? That's what it seems like he's trying to say, where it's we need a coach that's going to play the younger players because we haven't been doing it.
Yeah. I mean, he could be but I would also say, you build the team, my guy. And you can say to the coach, hey, you got to play this guy. They've done it before. I know for a fact they've done it before, where they've called somebody up and said, hey, no, you got to play him here. Don't play him there. Play him here. And so you got to do more of that now. You also, I think you have to have, with your coaching hire, you have to have someone who's confident in their ability to get something out of the younger players, right? I'm trying to find the right way to say it. You have to empower them with the coach wants to win that night, right? And so I think you had a bad mix this year where you had a coach who didn't have a contract, the team was not playing well, and he was saying, Am I gonna take the fall here? Okay, well, how do I avoid that? I gotta win every night. How am I gonna win every night? Well, I'm gonna lean on my veterans. I'm gonna lean on the guys that I know, the guys that have been good to me throughout my time here. And then you bring an interim head coach, his first head coaching opportunity in 15 years, basically. So you bring him in, and then he's like, okay, well, I want to work in the league beyond this year. I got to win tonight. And it wasn't until the deadline when they traded all those guys that you started to see more of the ice time for the younger players. You started to see more of your Lysells, of your, obviously Husadinov wasn't here before the deadline, but it was yeah, play him. I don't know, just play him in the top six. We'll figure it out. You saw more of that after the deadline, but your next head coach, he's going to have a multi-year deal, you would imagine. So he's going to have more ability to feel that out, but it never felt like any of the coaches that they had this year were comfortable with their own security to be yeah, I'm going to play this guy 15 minutes a night, even though I don't really know him. It didn't feel like that.
I feel like that same thing could happen next year. There's going to be pressure to get back to the playoffs. There's going to be pressure to win every night.
It shouldn't be for the head coach, though. It may be for the front office, but the head coach is going to get a 3-year deal, 4-year deal probably.
No,
so
I know. I'm saying, I guess I'm speaking to the overall organization, not just the coach, where there's this organizational pressure to get to the playoffs, and I think that's going to be on the team, especially if they spend big and they bolster the lineup to the point where all right, they're going to be a playoff team again.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're sort of on the fringes of that, do they keep putting the young players out there, putting them in a position to succeed, or do they start trading first-round picks for veterans again?
No, I think it's going to be more it's going to be more youth based this next season because they're going to look at it and say that if Lysell pops, then Sweeney looks good. If Minton pops, Sweeney looks good. He stands to gain everything by those players playing well. I mean, if they falter, he can say, okay, well, it wasn't that good to begin with, I guess. But if they pop, it's like, whoa, okay, you got something here, and your process and your methods look correct. So I think there's going to be a spirited effort there to get those guys going next year in training camp.
I feel like we've been having this conversation for 3-4 years now.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that's kind of...
Is it different because they're coming off this horrible year and now they
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
and they made all those trades. This actually is different now. They're actually going to do it now.
You have to. Like you just have to. The way the league is going, like you have to incorporate younger players in your lineup. And you can't keep running from that because it's not 2019 anymore. It's not 2013. You are in a new era, and you have guys that I think want to see younger players succeed. Guys want to take younger players under their wing. Like Nikita Zadorov was very helpful for Husendinov. Fraser Minton, they put his locker next to David Pasternak's. You got guys in your room that are leaders or want to be leaders that are embracing the idea of bringing younger players along. I know the Bruins have talked to Hampus Lindholm about helping Fabian Lysell. You got guys that want to do it, so do it. You are now empowered to do it across the board. So I think that should be helpful for them.
I hope so. I hope you're right. I hope that happens. I am just going to mentally prepare myself for Nikolai Ehlers and Gustav Nyquist on a PTO. That's how they're going to fill out the top 6.
Yeah, I mean, well, I would say that they should have learned their lesson last year when they denied minutes to Lysell and Merkulov and other younger players to give a plethora of minutes to Oliver Wahlstrom and Tyler Johnson, who ended up getting his contract terminated and retired, basically.
Please, no more.
You kind of learned your lesson, right? You should have, where, okay, yeah, maybe don't base everything that you do around a good training camp, because 5 games is a whole different story than 82 games, right?
Especially that camp that they came out of it saying they had a bad camp.
Right. So you signed Tyler Johnson, even though you hated your camp? Okay. It felt like Tyler Johnson did enough to earn a spot. At the same time, though, it didn't feel like you got a quality look at the guys that you want to get quality looks at, especially based on what you said in July when you didn't sign a forward and you moved on. We've gone over this a billion times, I know, but you gotta actually do it now, right? To your point, Sweeney says, we gotta communicate to younger players. We gotta integrate them. We gotta incorporate them. Okay, well, now you gotta go and do it. It's a different story than saying it and doing it, as we've learned this past calendar year, basically.
No, absolutely. I hope they actually stick to their word now, because they've been saying we're gonna put the younger players in a mix, or at least they're gonna have a chance for a spot. And then if we come out of camp feeling like they never had a chance.
No. I mean, yeah, and I think especially the head coach that was not just didn't give. I don't think he gave everyone a fair shake. I'm not gonna blame them for the team. I think they built a bad roster last year.
Montgomery,
yeah, right, but he also clearly was not in love with some of the guys that they were saying, hey, play this guy. He didn't like them for one reason or another.
That's not good. That doesn't sound healthy.
No.
All right. So maybe he does deserve to have the blame heaped on him, even if it's not totally fair.
No,
because he doesn't sound like he was being.
This
fair.
is one of those things where I think two things can be and are indeed true. The Bruins built a bad roster a year ago, and Montgomery was not the guy. I don't think he was the guy. And
no, one of those things has to be false.
I think you look at the playoffs and it kind of proved
can't both be true.
Listen, Montgomery is a big vibes guy, and I understand that. Like everyone loves him singing on the bench. He's singing to "Your Love" by the outfield on the bench. Well, your team was down. Can you pull up the chalkboard and can you pull up a dry erase board, drop something, or are we going to be singing 80 songs all night? What are we doing here?
I need a little bit more than vibes.
Yes,
when you're the guy behind the bench.
He's not a wartime general. I'm sorry, I don't think he's a wartime general.
Give him a bear suit. He can be Blades.
I'm telling you,
it's gonna be vibes.
If the Bruins snuck into the playoffs and they drew Berube and the Leafs in the first round, the Leafs would have mopped the floor with Montgomery and the Bruins. Would have mopped the floor with them. People forget that Jim Montgomery was a great Hampus Lindholm Game 7 away from blowing a 3-1 series lead in back-to-back seasons and getting fired. Like the revisionist history with Jim Montgomery drives me bananas. I hate it so much.
There is?
Yes.
There's a revisionist history. Who's saying he did a good job or he didn't deserve to be fired?
No,
Is that what you're
people
saying?
are like saying, like, oh, they let a great coach go. It's like, yeah, maybe. But I care about April and May. You can win your President's trophies. You can sneak into the playoffs. But when it's Game 6 and Game 7, what's your reaction time? What's your response time? What does it look like? For Montgomery, it's sipping the water, singing the songs, looking at the scoreboard. Like,
I mean, it sounded like he died when he got fired.
Yeah.
Like, well, he was a great man.
Yeah,
I just talked to him the other day.
I mean,
hug your loved ones, folks.
There is a. I'm not saying that he's a bad coach. I'm just saying he's not a wartime general, which is what you need this time of year. Look at the coaches that are left standing right now.
He's not even a wartime conciliary.
Craig Berube, Paul Maurice, Rod Brindamore, who's been through it so much, and I want to talk more about the Hurricanes later.
Do you?
Spencer Carberry, like he's probably like the outlier here. But Scott Arniel, who with Winnipeg coached under Rick Bowness for a while, has been a hockey lifer basically,
and he's gotten the most out of that team in a long time this year.
Your guy Pete DeBoer, who's like a Game 7 savant, he never loses a Game 7.
My Dallas Stars.
That's right.
Who I picked them to win the cup. Let's to be clear. That's who I picked.
Bruce Cassidy,
definitely not Tampa.
Bruce Cassidy, who's been through everything.
Yep.
And won a Stanley Cup. And then Chris Knobloch. Chris Knobloch's probably the outlier here, along with Spencer Carberry.
Yankees legend.
Chris Knobloch has McDavid and Draisaitl, which turns out can help you a lot in terms of like staying alive. But in the Eastern Conference, like a lot of great coaches, right? And I would personally, as a Bruins watcher, Bruins supporter, I never looked at Montgomery and said, I like what we got here. We got a guy. He knows how to outfox the opposition. No, I think he gets outfoxed in the playoffs. I think it keeps happening to him.
He's not that guy. He's not a tactician or anything like that. He's a motivator, vibes guy, like you said.
That overtime, the Game 7 between Winnipeg and St. Louis, would have been over well before when it ended, if not for Jordan Binnington, who Jordan Binnington is an unbelievable pressure goaltender. I think that's really impressive to me. Like, I think he's very, you watch him in the regular season, you see a lot of like ugly goals and things like that, but like pressure and keeping his team alive, he is fantastic in that regard. You got to tip your cap to him at this point because he's done it so many times now that you're like, whoa, man, all right, this guy's got it, man. Whatever it is, he's got that mental part of it down.
And especially, with the Team Canada, the Four Nations.
I kept watching the Blues in that Game 7 in the late stages of the third period in the overtimes going, you're going to adjust? Like, what are you doing here? Winnipeg, without Josh Morrissey, their best defenseman, a guy who I had on my Norris ballot this year, they're playing with 5D. No Scheifele. Like, and you had what? I think 10 shots over the final 50 minutes of the game. And I kept waiting. Like, you going to call a timeout? You going to draw something up? Like, what are you doing here? Like, and the flip side as well, you don't want to call a timeout because they're shorthanded. You want to call a timeout to get your guys going. And to say, hey, like, guys, we got to pick it up here. Attack them. They are weak right now. They're missing a guy. Go at them. That never happened. And it's just like, there's a vibe with Montgomery. Like, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah.
There's just a happy to be here vibe that I don't think is going to gel to win a Stanley Cup. I just don't believe that.
And that can only get you so far, right? Like you're saying, wartime general, like you start to face the best teams and the best coaches in the league.
Yeah.
There's going to be some strategy involved.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to make adjustments. They're going to do things where it's like, this is what we're doing. What are you going to do? What do you got up your sleeve?
Yeah.
He's got nothing up his sleeve.
No, and I think where that came to light, and again, we've talked about this before, there were players that were not happy last year when Charlie Coyle gets cross-checked in the net by Sam Bennett, a game after Sam Bennett concusses their captain.
No call.
Refs do it's the game. Job. It's the game-changing play. And after the game, Montgomery goes, refs do a great job. It's like, there were people in that locker room that were like, can you have our back? Like, what are we doing right now?
It's a little, that's odd. I mean, you think he would be the guy that would have your back.
Yeah. And I do think to a degree.
You can't drop a play on the whiteboard, but I'll have your back.
Right.
You didn't even do that?
Right. That did not sit well with some people. And I think also, I think he did learn from that to a certain degree. He like when Scheifele gets hurt in that series against the Blues. I mean, Montgomery's kind of crowing about how Faxa did it. He's like, "Oh, he hurt him." It's like, okay, so now you have your players back. That's great. But so whatever. The Montgomery thing is his own. I could do a whole podcast on it. I don't think he's as. I think the Bruins built a bad roster, but I don't think he's a difference between winning and losing. I just don't. Yeah. I feel like there's enough data out there now to indicate that he's not that guy. I don't see it.
I was honestly with Montgomery and the Blues on the Faxa thing.
Yeah.
The other coach is like, oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about. So the player doesn't know where he got hurt.
Yeah.
I would think I'll take the player's side on that one.
The
one that got hit and got hurt from the hit.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're just calling him a liar, I guess.
Right. I feel like we're in a McDonald's right now with this buzzer going off.
Oh my God. It's going off big time now.
I have no idea. So this is good.
Not a fan of our takes.
No, that's all right. So
the beep from hell right now.
Yeah.
If it keeps going.
Are we done? No, we're not done? Cool.
This is terrible. This is a terrible radio, terrible podcast.
We got to figure this out. It's got to stop, whatever it is.
I'm going to go figure this out. I'm going to have to edit this in post.
Yeah.
This is what I'm going to do. Thank God we're not live. I'm going to go check this out for a second. All right, we're back. I had to do some extra editing in post there, Ty, because the beep was driving me crazy. I don't know if I've actually fixed the beep.
We'll find out.
We'll find out in due time. I feel like we're watching... No, there it is. No,
whatever. Just power through it.
I guess we're going to power through it. It's very annoying, though.
Yeah.
I need to talk to Jim Louth or someone about what the hell that is. I don't know what's causing it. I don't know. There's nothing going on over there.
Yeah, whatever.
It's usually the noise. No, it's usually the noise you make when your computer's frozen.
Yeah.
And you try to type or click.
Yeah.
It beeps on you. It makes that beep. What? Is there a fucking ghost over there?
I have no idea. No idea. This is why I like podcasts.
Yeah.
Other studio, not even happening. Not even a noise. Not even a single noise.
I think I prefer the Sports Hub Psych Ward.
Yep. Think that's where we're going back to next week, baby.
Yeah.
Want to move on to the topic of coaching hires and potential coaching hires here?
Yeah. That was going to be a perfect segue before we were rudely interrupted.
Well, the McDonald's fry machine over there is going off. Let me know if the order's ready.
Yeah, seriously. All right. So you start. What do you want to start?
So one name now on the board, one name now off the board. Let's start with the name that is off the board, because I don't think we got to spend too much time on this. Joel Quenneville, hired by the Anaheim Ducks on Thursday. Joel Quenneville was never a candidate for the Bruins. I know people have tweeted at me about him. They've asked about him. The Bruins cashed that chip in on Mitch Miller. I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying that's wrong. However, once the Bruins became the team to take the chance on Mitch Miller, they could not be the team to take the chance on Joel Quenneville. They just couldn't do it. They could not be that team. You got your chip. I'm going to cash in my chip, my questionable character chip. They decided to cash it in on the 5'10" defenseman who succeeded in the USHL as an overager. Don't know why they did that, but they did that. Once they did that, off the board. Can't do it again. So they are not the team that could take the chance on Coach Q. They didn't. Anaheim did. Anaheim has since put out a statement saying that, they believe Joel Quenneville when he says that he was not aware of the severity of what happened between their video coach and Kyle Beach. Kyle Beach has come out and said that he thinks Quenneville should coach in the NHL again. So there's that. But the Bruins couldn't be that team. You know what I'm saying? It's like, all right, man, you took that gamble and it blew up in your face. Don't take another one right now because you can't do that. That's how it was for me, and that's how I think it was for the organization as well. Yeah,
I completely agree with everything you just said there. Quenneville, he's another guy where it's like, is he a great coach, or did he just have Patrick Kane, Jonathan Taves, Duncan Keith, Brent Seabrook,
and before that, Joe Sakic and Peter Forsberg and all those guys.
Oh my God, he was there. He was that coach.
Yeah, he was a Colorado coach too.
Oh my God.
Yeah. No, I mean,
I don't know. Wasn't he? Was he the St. Louis Blues coach at some point?
That sounds right.
Yeah, so he had Chris Pronger too.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Guy just likes having good players.
Yeah,
it's a good strategy.
I mean, again, I don't think that it's a scarlet letter, but
it's pretty wild that they hire him and then they have to immediately issue a statement. We believe.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and what has been the process like? What have you learned? What have you I think it's easier to do that in Anaheim than a major market. I just do. I like not a knock on Anaheim, but you got I think 3 people that cover that team, right? You're playing in the shadow of the Lakers and the Dodgers and you know, even the Kings, you know, they're probably the top team, NHL team in that town. So like, it's just easier to do the rehab in Anaheim than Boston or New York or whatever. And that's why I think like he wasn't really considered for those marquee openings. I think that was a legit thing, especially with the Rangers, what happened with Artemi Panarin right now and that whole thing. Like, I think if you were a big team, like you couldn't touch him. You just couldn't, even if you wanted to. You're just like, not for us. Sorry. You know,
yeah.
like think about like how Babcock got treated in Columbus. You know, like they hire him and he has to step down like a day later because everyone's like, no, this guy sucks. He's a bad guy. You don't want this guy. You know, like so I just don't think it was a fit for Boston. Again, I don't know everything.
Of like people wanted the Bruins to get him.
No, but I would hear about it from people. Like, I don't know if there was like a ton,
yeah,
but
what
like,
do you think about this?
Yeah, I just thought that I always felt like they could never be that team. Once the Miller thing happened and the way that blew up on them, like they couldn't be the Quenneville team. It wouldn't pass any sort of test in terms of being an organization that, you know, has the convictions that the Bruins say they do when they reverse course on Mitch Miller. You know?
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, it didn't even cross my mind, honestly.
I don't even think he interviewed.
I thought he was a guy that like he just wasn't going to coach again.
Yeah, I mean he is old now too. Like he's like very old. I'm gonna smash that computer. I'm gonna smash that computer.
I think it's when you have a good take. The beep's like. Beep.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll see. But moving on to a candidate
like my freaking cat.
Moving on to the candidate that is on their radar, according to multiple reports now, Rick Tocchet, who walked away from his job in Vancouver.
Bruins legend.
Vancouver offered him an extension. He said no. Vancouver then allowed him to basically become a free agent. They had the option to keep him. They had a team option, but they decided, let's not go down that road. Let's just let him go. So they let him go. He's now a free agent. He's got a lot of interest. Seattle, Philadelphia. Philadelphia made a lot of sense. I thought that Philly would have hired him by now. I thought that would have been like over and done with by now. But is not. And now Boston is emerging as a legit contender for Rick Tocchet, who played here, actually. For a hot minute. He played here.
I used to think it was like a good thing if you played for a lot of teams. So, well, everybody loves this guy. Everybody loves Rick Tocchet. He's a legend.
Yeah. You would love UC Jokinen. Wait till you find out about him. You're going to love him.
Wasn't he a Dallas Star?
He was, yeah.
Yeah, that's how I know him.
Yeah. He played everywhere, too. Carolina, Florida, I think Tampa for like a hot minute, Dallas. Like Ruslan Fedotenko, you'd love him too. A lot of those guys, I love those guys.
Big Fedotenko guy.
They're great for like immaculate grid. That's when those guys have immense value. Players that have played everywhere. There's like goalies that have done that too. I love a good Alex Auld backup goaltender for like 9 teams. Love that.
What about Zach Bierk? He's a Dallas Star. Do you remember him?
I do not. I don't remember him.
I don't know how much he played.
Yeah.
He was behind Ed Belfour and then Marty Turco.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So he barely played.
Yeah, no, that guy had a great job. That's like that. Yep. Being the backup goalie for like a workhorse. Yeah. Being a backup goalie for like a workhorse or being like a long reliever in baseball. It's like, hey, I only come in when the game is over. That's great. Like, what a great job that must be. Be a long reliever in baseball. Oh. Yeah. I'm only called upon when we're down by 10, so no one thinks anything good is going to happen.
No pressure.
Perfect.
It's funny how like Eric Comrie of the Jets last week was like, I didn't think I was going to play.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Yeah.
I don't know what to do.
Wild. But yes.
So here's my question for you about Rick Tocchet.
Yeah.
I get the sense you wouldn't be crazy about him as a coach yourself, but I do value your opinion.
Yeah, I don't. I think that's good. I just say words.
What's more important is, does he fit what the Bruins want?
So, shut up.
The beep says no.
So I say this as somebody, I watched a ton of Vancouver Canucks hockey. They were like my West Coast team last season for whatever reason. I'd always come home and be 10:30. I'm like, let's throw on a game. And I would either throw on the Kings or the Canucks. So I saw a lot of Canucks games a year ago. Not a big shot volume team, right? And so That's something I look at and kind of go, I kind of want them to be more of a shot volume team. That said, though, to your point, or to your question about stylistically, what like they had Quinn Hughes, who's incredible offensive defenseman, as we know. But really, like, I think one thing I noticed with the Canucks a lot was the way they'd break pucks out was very similar to Bruce Cassidy in the way that the Bruins would break pucks out under Bruce Cassidy. A lot of D to D and then hit the winger, let's go. Like, so if you're trying to maximize sort of what your defense's involvement is, like that might be a way to do it. Especially with Lindholm and McAvoy and Mason Lohrei, like I get maybe a little bit less risk in terms of like getting the puck out of your own zone, which was a problem for them a year ago. I also do think that, their defense was kind of a hybrid in terms of like zone and man, which is interesting. I don't like when coaches are like too boxed into like, no, we always play zone, we always play man. Yeah. Because I think when you watch the Hurricanes, right, the Hurricanes are just so man dependent that like you can find kind of flaws in that over the course of it. Yes, exactly. And so I think that that's a good thing as well. I think you got to get fat. Like if you hire Rick Tocchet, you got to get a lot faster on the wing, because that's where, like, when his teams were going, their forecheck was relentless. They'd win a lot of 50-50 battles. So it does sound and like go to work.
It probably does sound like what Neely and Sweeney would want them to do.
Yeah, for me, it's just the shot volume thing. I want the Bruins to be, and this is a perfect segue, honestly. I want the Bruins to be more like the Carolina Hurricanes. I think that's a great way to play, and yeah, you're gonna have losses where you get goalied, so to speak, but like. I was watching a pregame interview on ESPN between, I forget who it was for ESPN, I apologize, and Dmitry Orlov for the Carolina Hurricanes, former Bruin for a hot second. And they asked Orlov, what makes the Hurricanes so good? And he said, we pressure from all over. Everyone's involved. And teams know that. Yeah, it's a lot to throw at you.
Bombs away.
And I think that's such a great way to play. It's just like, hey, hit a leg, hit a stick, and you got a goal. That erases so much pressure you put on yourself, right?
It'd be nice if they had some results to show for it.
Well,
right?
And then you watch that game one between Washington and Carolina.
Game. I did watch. I wanted to just quickly.
Yeah.
At one point they showed it was the shot attempts were like 82-25 or something.
Yeah. Delicious, delightful, love it.
It was crazy.
And then they win on like a Jacob Slavin cheapie. Like not a great goal, but hey.
You win a lot of playoff games that way.
The philosophy was simple. Get the puck on goal. Just get it to the net and see what happens. And so I love the 5-man pressure. I think it's a great way to play. And it also reduces the strain on your goaltender. If you're just controlling the puck and your cycle game is phenomenal, and you got to rely on Swayman to make 15 saves versus 35 and steal a game, I kind of like that philosophy, right? And I think when the Rick Tocchet system is not going the way it needs to go, you have a lot of games where you're relying on your goaltender to steal you the game, and that
we're used to
that can be a struggle. I think you got to ease the pressure that's on Jeremy Swayman, and so I don't know if the Tocchet system will do that. That's my only issue with a potential Rick Tocchet hire.
So, but they still want to play like a two-way, responsible two-way game.
Yeah,
they're not going to be running around with their heads cut off in the defensive zone. Like when they are going right. Mm-hmm. They will defend well. The goalie doesn't have to stand on his head necessarily. He'll get good looks at the puck.
And honestly, like
make it easy on him.
Our hardcore listeners, look at, they're going to listen to this and they're going to say, okay, well that's basic stuff, that's peewee kind of stuff. But like
they're going to listen to this and be like, that beep is really killing me.
Yeah, I hate that beep as well. We're never recording the studio again as long as that beep exists.
We need to get to the bottom of the beep.
So. They'll look and say, okay, it's very basic stuff, but yeah, it also comes back to how did the Bruins envision themselves playing, to your point. Like you look at Vancouver, they had JT Miller, they have Elias Pettersson, they had Elias Lindholm a year ago. Like they have typically had responsible two-way centermen under Rick Tocchet, and that's been their backbone, so to speak. And so you look at that and you'd say, okay, that's a good sign, right? Like you'd want some of that, but The Bruins continue to become Vancouver East, which is very funny to me. That if they hire Rick Tocchet, it's like, okay, another old Canuck now coming over. That's what they're doing now, I guess. So, and it would pave the way, in my opinion,
Bring
to
Derek Forbort back while we're at it.
I mean, Brock Besser, pending free agent.
I'll take him.
Good friends with Casey Middlestad. They actually trained together in the offseason in Minnesota. So I'd wonder if that paved the way for Brock Besser coming to the Boston Bruins in the summer if they made that kind of hire. But you want to have the hire done, I think, before free agency. That's got to happen. You got to know who your coach is before you go into the market and make moves and try to sell guys on your city and their fit here.
Well, if it's what's his name, Misha Donskov was with the Stars.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what if the Stars make it all the way to the Cup final? Like, they're going to have to thread the needle there at the end.
Yeah, well, when does it begin? Do they announce when it begins? I think this year you might be kind of lucky in terms of it ending a little bit early because it looks like we're 2 games in, so who knows? In terms of the second round being shorter. But yeah, you may have to. But like Jim Montgomery was hired June 29th, so it really comes down to like, can you talk to a team and be granted access to an interview, while that team is still performing? It's kind of different. Like this is where I wish the NHL was like the NFL, where like I love how in the NFL they're like, we completed our interview with Aaron Glenn, you know what I mean? Or like, we completed our interview with Mike Vrabel today. Like, I kind of wish the NHL had that. It's all done in secrecy now. No one knows who they've talked to.
No transparency.
No, it's very annoying.
I mean, wish the way they show the draft lottery, maybe. It's funny, like the interview process is like the machine at the beginning of Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Oh yeah,
just a bunch of unnecessary gears and
just
arms
a poor
coming
cereal.
Down,
yeah,
pulley system.
I love it. I love Pee-wee's Big Adventure. It's a great movie.
It's a great movie. I haven't watched that in a long time. It used to creep me out a little bit as a kid, but. So
Rick Tocchet's a candidate. I do believe that who they're talking about is Misha Donskov, and they say that guys that they want to talk to that are still coaching. Mitch Love wouldn't surprise me as well. I mentioned that on the podcast the other day. He's an assistant in Washington. He was the head coach of Calgary's AHL team. He had great numbers there. They lost. They never won the Calder Cup, but they got to the third round one year. So, you look at that and you're like, okay, maybe there's something there. I don't think Mark Savard is a candidate. I just don't. I don't get that vibe.
There's people who talking like he's the guy.
Yeah, I don't think so. Like the Bruins said no to him 2 years ago. What has changed now? They're gonna be like, oh right. Yeah, no, come on over.
Yeah, never mind.
They said no to him. I would also wonder.
The beep says yes on Savard.
I'd wonder if they'd revisit some of the guys they interviewed back in 2022. They interviewed Mike Vellucci, who is an associate coach with Pittsburgh under Mike Sullivan. They interviewed David Quinn, who was also on Sullivan's staff. Don't believe that Quinn is going to be going to New York with Sullivan because Quinn was fired by the Rangers a few years ago and kind of a messy breakup there. And I believe they've already said that Quinn is not coming over. Yeah. I think Tortorella might come with Sullivan, but not Quinn. Tortorella was an assistant on Sullivan's staff on Team USA.
So that's not. So Tortorella's not decided yet. He hasn't.
No,
it hasn't been confirmed one way or the other.
No, but I think he might take a year as like an assistant or two, and kind of recalibrate, so to speak, and then go back into the job market. So that might happen. But I think Quinn is a candidate for Pittsburgh's full-time head coaching vacancy right now as well. So, but I'd wonder if they would revisit some of those guys they interviewed back in 2022 before hiring Montgomery and say, hey, what do you think now? Like, what do you want to do? They also mentioned Jay Leach and Joe Sacco will be interviewed. Sacco, not a surprise. Leach, we hadn't heard his name before this. So we'll see what happens there. I will tell you this, that both Sacco and Leach have some prominent backers in the organization based on what I've been told, is that there are guys, be it on the roster, be it in the front office, higher up than that, who like those guys for one reason or another. So like they're going to be legit candidates. Yeah. They're not just being given interviews. Like they are legitimate candidates based on what I've been told.
Not just a dog and pony show.
No,
like, no, he's in the mix. Trust us. Yeah.
Well,
he's in the mix.
Think about this. Like the Bruins never wanted to lose Jay Leach. They didn't have an opportunity for him though when he left. And so, but as soon as Seattle moved on from that staff, the Bruins like, oh, yep, come on back. Like they clearly like him a lot. And so I think that, that's going to be interesting to kind of wait and see here what happens there. But whoever the next coach is, this is what I want, Matt. Let them pick their own staff. You might like this guy or that guy, but you gotta let the coach pick his own staff. It's gotta happen.
Beep agrees.
Yeah, I guess. I hate this beep. It's like derailing me so bad.
I'm sorry. I don't know the origins or how the hell to get rid of it. Hopefully our listeners can't hear it. Let's just move on and do the big three. How does that sound?
Sounds great.
All right, let's exhaust the hockey for one episode. Let's get the big three over with so we can get the hell out of here and never have to listen to this beep again. We're gonna do the big three jobs we don't understand. This was your idea, Ty.
Mm-hmm.
The way I took it was, I don't understand how this job works.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that's the same that you did.
Yes and no. Well, I'm going to let you kick things off because I have no idea.
You want me to do it first?
Yeah.
All right. I'll go first. Let's see here. I'm going over my list of notes. Okay. My first pick, I'll go with an orchestra conductor.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea what any of that means. With the stick and the waving the arms. Okay, you play, now you play. You play louder, you play softer. I don't understand how this person just standing there flailing their arms around gets an entire orchestra to play something in perfect unison.
Yeah, it seems unnecessary.
That's what I mean. Like, why do you really need that?
I feel like the tuba player should do his homework and know he's got to play. I don't know.
Yeah, don't you have?
No other band needs that. Just for the record, no other band has that.
Yeah, it's like Radiohead has a Keith Lockhart out there waving a stick, saying, "All right, now you play the guitar solo."
Everyone else can do it. Why? What makes this guy special? Because he's wearing a tuxedo while he's playing the French horn?
He's got a stick and he's wearing a suit.
Don't agree. I don't like that. Yeah, that's a great pick, honestly. My first pick is very ambiguous, and that's why I don't get it. What's a town manager do? You manage a town? Well, what does that mean? Am I able to be like, hey, I don't like this guy, and it's like, all right, I'll manage it. What do you do as a town manager? I don't understand what you do. I have no idea. What falls under your purview, and what is oh, that's private property. I can't do anything about that.
Right.
I don't know.
Right. Technically, everything in the town is part of the town.
Right.
So your house is part of the town, and he gets to manage your house if he feels like it.
That's what I mean. Where's the red tape for a job like town manager? Where's the regular? I don't know where the yellow tape is for that kind of job. I have no idea. So that's my pick. I don't know what that person does. Right. It's easy to be like, oh, they help fix the roadways. No, isn't that DPW? Don't they do that? I thought that's what they do.
The town manager manages the DPW.
Then what does that guy who runs that department do? The whole thing is it's a very lofty title, and I don't get what it means.
It's nebulous.
Yes.
So it feels like a Tony Soprano type job.
Yes, exactly.
The guy just has the title and then shows up. Doesn't do anything. They sit around in the lawn chairs.
Mm-hmm. I'm the town manager. Oh, okay. I'm the house manager. Yeah.
Town sucks.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe you should do something about it.
Right. Does he get to trade stuff with other town managers like that? I don't know. I don't know what he does. So I'm gonna say with that. I'm gonna go with that.
Why don't you do something about the rat problem, Mr. Town Manager?
Exactly.
In every town in America.
Yeah, that's my first pick.
All right, good. That's a good one. All right, my second pick, stenographer.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we need those? First of all, we got audio recorders, cameras. We get AI that can just transcribe whatever.
Yeah.
I think the beep is a fan of stenographers. It's beeping its ass off at me right now.
Yeah. This has ruined this podcast.
This has ruined this episode.
Yeah.
I hate it. This is supposed to be our big video debut in Studio D. Of course, something went wrong. I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, of course.
But stenographers, and you ever see the device they use? I don't think.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
I don't think they use a regular keyboard.
No, they don't.
It's got hearts and stars and
moons on it. It's got 8 buttons. Yeah. I have no idea how it works.
It's got a smiley face on it.
So I first witnessed this during the Stanley Cup Final back in 2011 because I
first witnessed this when they brought me in for arson.
No, they have people who will do this for the pro sports leagues, and I saw the device they were using, and I was like, it has 9 buttons. It doesn't have a regular keyboard. At least the one that this person was using, and I was like, "What the hell is happening right now?"
I don't understand. I thought that was I thought they're doing the transcript.
Right. Yeah.
How do you do that with not a regular keyboard?
I don't know, but they do it.
They have this weird code, I guess, that you can decipher afterward. But then just have AI do it at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Otter. You get the Otter app right on your phone.
Right.
Just take your phone, put it on the judge's desk, and you'll get your transcript.
This is such a good segue to my second pick.
Oh, boy.
Judge. What does a judge do? No, seriously. Why do I get picked for jury duty? And then I gotta listen. And then I decide, why is the guy sitting up there? What's he doing then? He's just listening?
You can just do
He's
it.
just wearing a bathrobe and having a time?
I think you do it.
Right.
I want to go back. I want to go back to work and do my podcast.
I don't want to do this. Yeah. So I am gonna say judge. I don't understand. Like if we're beholden to what the jury decides, then what is that guy doing up there?
Because he's wearing a robe and he's 3 feet higher up than everybody
He's
else.
got a little hammer, so everyone's got to respect him.
He's got to decide. Oh yeah, it's a cute little hammer you got there.
Yeah,
Mr. Judge.
So that's my pick. Simple.
How do you get to how do you get to that point?
I think you're a lawyer and then you become a judge. I think that's typically how that goes.
But only some people could become judges.
I could never. I'm not interested in it. I'm not interested in serving. I'm not interested in being part of a court. I don't care. It's not my wheelhouse. I think it's banana. We've talked about this before. It's bananas that I get picked to like decide someone's fate. I had candy for breakfast the other day. Why are you asking me?
Seriously. I sleep till 10 a.m.
Yeah. I'm not doing that. I'm good, dude. I'm all set.
I'll brush my teeth, then have a midnight snack. I don't know what I'm doing with my
Then I
life.
gotta do it all over again. Yeah. It's the whole thing.
It's ridiculous.
So that's my number 2 pick.
That's a good one. I don't understand how any of the court stuff works in general. I couldn't pick just one job there.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that it all works the way it does still feels antiquated, and yet I don't understand it at the same time.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Yeah, I don't. I mean, it's very.
It feels archaic.
It does, but that's okay.
We should just go back to crucifying people.
Oh God,
Get it
no!
over with.
Stop
Beheading
that!
And crucifying.
Stop that!
Just do that.
All right, and that was my number. That was my number 2 pick.
He stole an apple from the market. Cut his head off.
Yeah, a little harsh, I would say.
I'd say the penalty was a little steep on that one.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yes.
Is it my 3rd pick already?
What was your first one?
The conductor and the stenographer.
Yeah. Yep. So then, this is good to go.
What's my 3rd pick? I don't even know what the title is for this, but like planning a construction job.
Okay.
The guys that plan construction planners.
Yeah.
You know, like you have the blueprint to make it. What about making the blueprint?
I don't know.
Where the hell do you start? How do you start that?
Is that an engineering thing?
I think it's like there's construction engineers. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. I don't know how any engineers work, honestly.
No. Yeah.
I could have said mechanical engineer, electrical engineer.
Just have no clue.
Where do you begin?
I honestly don't know.
You do math? Like you do physics problems?
Wouldn't even know. Wouldn't even have the slightest clue. Not even a little bit.
This room was created by an engineer, technically.
Yes. Yeah. Don't know how they did it, but they did it.
Yeah. But I just look at construction. You have a whole building. Like, how did they come up with the design for this building?
Mm-hmm.
It makes my head spin just thinking of like, how do you? Someone drew this up. This started with someone drawing it up on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And then another person's like, all right, we need this material, that material. You're gonna go measure that. And then, not to mention the actual construction people. They have to come in and measure everything perfectly, or else it's gonna look like an MC Escher drawing.
Funny story about this exact thing you're talking about. When the TD Garden was doing their renovations like 5 or 6 years ago, whenever it was now, whoever was in charge of drawing it up did not account for like things that you need in a building. They did not account for.
They didn't account for wood.
No, and they had to like redo it all. They did not account for camera wells for photographers for events. They did not account for press box seating for reporters and writers. They did not account for.
Who needs that?
Like there were like 3 or 4 major things that like they did not account for that like you need at sporting events to like be able to hold a sporting event in your building.
It's just a room.
Yeah, like I think the original mock-up, and forgive me if I'm speaking out of turn here, whoever told me this story. It's been years, you're fine. I believe that like the original mock-up, the NBA got involved and was like, you need to create 100 more seats if you're ever going to have an NBA Finals in your building. Sorry, like we have reporters from all over the world. You can't do that. And they're like, oh, okay. Like, so it's kind of funny how that all came to be. You saw it at the Four Nations face-off. Like the auxiliary seating was like the banners or whatever it's called, and it's you're working on a little table that's like 5 inches wide. You know,
I covered the NBA Finals from like a luxury box, basically.
So weird. Yeah. So that is
same with the Four Nations, actually.
Yeah. So there you go. Yeah, that's I don't understand, but that started with somebody drawing that all up. That's an example of what you're talking about.
I just don't understand how you even like where you start with determining how do you draw it up, like the measurements. It's just crazy. It just makes my head spin thinking about stuff like that.
Yeah, no, that's a fair one.
Your third pick, Ty.
One, I just don't understand. Like, I understand like the value of it, but I don't understand how these guys are able to do it. Anything involving air traffic control, whether
it was on my list.
whether you're in the tower itself or if you're one of those guys that's on the ground like waving, like I'm like, how do you know? How do you know where this should all go? How do you have that memorized in your head of like, okay, you're gonna want to go left here, and then you get like I don't understand all of that.
And the fact that you can't F that up.
Yeah.
You got to be perfect
Yes.
at all times.
Yes, I respect it greatly. I just have no idea how it's done. And I like that mystery. So like if you know how these things work and you know what it, don't tell me. I like the mystery. I like thinking this person is like a wizard and they have a supercomputer for a brain and that's how they're able to do all this. Like that, I don't want to know the actual. I just know that I have no idea how it's done.
Well,
that's all
one
that
of those
matters.
things where they could explain it to me. I wouldn't know what the hell they're talking about.
Right.
I'd be like, can you actually don't bother? I don't want to make I don't want to make you repeat yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That was on my list, though. Yeah, air traffic control. Like, how do you know that this plane needs to go this way, and then you're not going to have this plane crash into that plane? And then you got to trust the pilots to do the right thing, not to mention.
Exactly.
But, like, how do you anticipate? Do you anticipate things?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you have it all planned out, or do you have to do it in real time?
I don't know.
It's crazy to me.
It's fascinating.
And there's probably, like, physical stuff we don't have to think. We don't even think about, like, the airflow, the aerodynamics, the wind, and things like that.
Yeah.
You probably have to take that all into account.
You do, and I don't know how to even start.
How does a plane even work?
What do we got some mentions for?
Honorable mentions, I put appraiser.
Okay.
If you go and like appraise a building,
yeah,
that's almost like a judge. Like how does an appraiser just decide the price of a house or the quality of a whatever?
I had a car insurance appraiser come out when my car got sideswiped once, and I was like, I don't even know what you're looking at right now.
Yeah.
I had no idea. Are you
That'll be $5,000.
Are you determining if it's my fault or like what are we doing here?
Exactly.
How could you tell? How could you ever know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
What do you do? What are you thinking about?
Yeah.
Where do you start?
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's my big question with these jobs. Where do you even start with this shit?
No idea. Not even a little bit.
I had a consultant on my list.
Mm-hmm.
What I don't understand about consultants is like people just decide to be consult. There's no like you don't get a consulting degree.
Right.
Could you and I just decide one day we're going to be consultants?
Probably.
Just go be
probably.
digital content consultants?
Right. Yeah,
that
probably.
might be a good idea.
My version of that, and I don't mean this as a knock because I know people who are considered this title. The hell's an enterprise reporter? That's like a new job title. It's been you see it in like magazines and websites and newspapers. I'm an enterprise reporter. Huh?
That was a
what does that even mean?
That was a class I took. Or no, it wasn't. I think it might have just been like the final assignment, the big assignment.
Yeah.
At the end of one of my journalism classes.
Yeah.
At Northeastern. I forget what I did it about, but it's like this is your enterprise story.
Yeah.
And it's like if you ever go into like the Globe and it's not spotlight, not like investigative, but like
I think Porter is technically like an enterprise reporter.
Yeah,
now.
like a big picture. He did a big picture thing on youth hockey recently, for instance, in the Globe.
Yeah.
Like that's an enterprise story.
Yeah, I guess. Like I don't. But just say feature writer. What the hell's? Why are you giving a Star Trek ship name? That's weird.
Because it makes it sound cool. Like
all right, now then change my title. I'm the Millennium Falcon reporter for 95sportshub.com.
This is the official Enterprise podcast.
Yeah.
Of the Sports Hub. Sports Hub.
So I don't understand that title. Another one for me would be Pope, which like we have a new Pope. I don't know how that. Do you have to have like a Jesus test? Like you get quizzed on the Bible? How does it all happen?
Yeah. And like what? Yeah, what's the hierarchy? What power do you have over the bishops and the cardinals?
Yeah,
so you can go anywhere on the board. The bishop can only go diagonal.
All I want to know is a pope able to go? You know what? You're going to hell. I don't like you.
Yeah.
Does he have that kind of power? I don't know.
And then how do you prove that?
Exactly. It's very.
You got proof?
I don't mean to be sacrilege here. I just don't understand the power that the Pope has. I just don't get it.
Leon Pope.
Leon Poe. Poe.
No, I'm pretty sure it was Pope.
Not sure about that one. We'll see.
Pope
we'll
fiction.
See. Yes, that's right. Another one for me would be executive producer. I don't know, like you just have money, so that's what
you just have money. You just finance the project.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair, I guess. I don't understand how.
That's why you'll randomly see like Brad Pitt was executive producer on this movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Beep. I also don't understand that job. Just Beep.
Yeah, Beaker from the Muppets has been interrupting us this entire podcast. It's been brutal, but that'll do it for this week. Thanks. If you made it this far, especially this week, if you made it this far, thanks. I love you. Ty, do you have any closing thoughts? No,
Get me the hell out of here.
We're going to get Ty the hell out of here. Beep, do you have any closing thoughts? Of course, the beep doesn't say anything at that point.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Hopefully, you guys didn't hear that beep, because that'd be unbearable, I think, to actually listen to. It didn't stand us to make us quit this episode, but we powered through it. Thanks for listening, folks. This is the Sports Hub Underground. One more time, you can get us at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, sometimes on YouTube. I'm not even sure if this was on YouTube. If you're currently watching this, I really appreciate you getting through this whole episode with us. I thought we might have had all the technical difficulties figured out, and then the beep came in and really derailed things. But thanks for getting through this with us. We will talk to you again soon.